Need an arm pump, I can be back. You want me back, you want me out. Till you fall, I can give you that. You want pump, I can be back. You want me back, you want me dance sag. You should welcome me back. You want a pump, I can be back. You want me back, you want me out. Till you fall, I can give you that. You want pump, I can be back. You want me back, you want me dance sag. You should welcome me back. You want to, you should welcome. You should welcome. You should welcome. You should welcome back. You should welcome. You should welcome. You should welcome. You should welcome back.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Keith Roberson, the host of Thank God for the Group Chat, the host of I Pray This Helps, co-host of Background Noise, creator, curator, podcaster, entrepreneur, father, the list goes on. Creative, all around creative, content creator is what I am. I just decided to talk to you guys about the updates for Thank God for the Group Chat and just what we plan on doing going forward and why it makes sense to us without giving you all the tricks of the trade. But if you've been listening to this podcast since its inception, you know that we've gone through many changes. We've gone, and this is just one of those changes in the evolution of whatever this is. We're changing with the times, and also we're changing to better serve you guys and to make this an even more enjoyable experience for those of you who've been rocking with us from day one, all the way up until those of you who this might even be your first time listening to me. And so I thank every last one of you, first time and last time listeners, you know what I mean? And every time listeners, I appreciate you all. So in this, whatever this is, we'll consider this a trailer for season 5. If you want to call it a New Year's wrap up or whatever it might be, whatever you want to call it, let it serve you however you choose for it to serve you. I just first of all, I felt like podcasting. That's just number one. Number two, I really just you guys deserve to know what's going on. If you are invested in this podcast at all, if you are invested in me at all, I just wanted to let you know what was going on. By the way, I am a little bit under the weather. I apologize for the sniffles. I apologize for the clearing of the throat. I apologize for the coughing. I do not have COVID. I'm getting over it. I was with my daughter this past week, and she was sick, and she likes to cough on her dad and kiss on her dad and give her dad all her germs. So, and I'll gladly take them. And so that's all it is. And she's doing much better now. Bailey, Daddy loves you. So let's talk about it. If you are watching this or if you're listening to this on the back end after I've recorded this, I'm actually recording this live. I'm on Facebook, on our Facebook page. Thank God for the Group Chat. The Thank God for the Group Chat page on Facebook. Shout out to everyone who has listened to and has liked this page. I appreciate it. I appreciate the likes going up. Please continue to support this podcast and tell others about it and all of that. Because if you like it, you'll get updates and all of that. And so I just appreciate the support. With that said, I will be rambling and telling y'all about what's going on because I'm not prepared. I just wanted to tell you guys what's going on. I pretty much got it all in my head and I've got it all written down. I just don't have it written down in such a way to make it tangible for you guys. But that is kind of what we're trying to do today, right? It's kind of what we're trying to do right now, where I can in many ways make this make sense to you guys. For those of you who don't understand, which none of you understand. So it's like this. Um, I've been podcasting for about 5 or 6 years now. I'm not quite sure of the exact dates, but I've been podcasting for quite some time. Um, this podcast first started off as The Adventures of Deuce Banner and His Unpopular Opinion. So if you've been around since then, I really, really appreciate you. Shout out to Gina. Shout out to my girl Leela. Shout out to my boy Lon and John and Kavan and um, uh, Miss Allison. All of you people that have been day ones and the people that have kind of like dropped off, the Denards and all of that. You know what I mean? So we started with The Adventures of Deuce Banner and His Unpopular Opinion. From that, took a long break because that was my morphing into its own thing, like where I went on this whole spiritual journey with the Lord, where I was doing a lot of praying and a lot of that, you know what I mean? And I started a very demanding job. And so I couldn't do the podcast the way that I wanted to do it, which wound up me not being able to do it at all. And slowly got back into it, but mainly from this spiritual standpoint of reading and praying and all of that and sharing Bible stories with you all. And that was cool, but that was a completely different thing. And so from there, I left my job. Um, left my job after a year and decided that um, I wanted to freelance, but I wanted to freelance in such a way where, yeah, I was doing my own thing. But how do I showcase my abilities? How do I showcase what I'm able to do? Whether it be sonically, visually, how do I do that? And how do I show it to just the regular layman? Because that's who I would be offering my services to. So what wound up happening was, okay, let's do something that's really low hanging fruit, something that you're used to doing, and something that you can do consistently. Um, and that was podcasting. And so instead of doing, I was no longer Deuce Banner. That ship had sailed. I still love doing music and I still love creating, but I'm not that guy anymore. And I thank God for him, but I'm not him. And so what wound up happening was I came to my friends about an idea of starting up another podcast, um, kind of revamping the old podcast, but new and improved. And we would call it Thank God for the Group Chat because we had such a great banter in our group chat. Man, imagine if we took this to the grand stage. Imagine if we took this to everybody else that wanted to listen to it. And so they were down with it. They loved the title of the podcast. I might be good with titles. And so we started Thank God for the Group Chat. Thank God for the Group Chat consisted of myself, Lon Richardson, his brother Kavan Richardson, and our mutual friend John Carter. That was the original cast, produced by, at the time, Fresh Air. Fresh Air Life was a company that did merchandise and all of that type of stuff. So it was a way to kill a few birds with one stone and be able to do a few things with one entity, under one entity. And so that was under Fresh Air Life, which I'm not through with yet, and more on that later. I don't know how long this will be, but I appreciate you sticking with me. And this might just even be for me, even just for documentation purposes, and for you if you just say, "Hey, man, how did Keith do this?" You know what I mean? Like when it's all said and done, when the rubber meets the road, whether I'm here or not, and everything is successful and everybody wants to go back and say, how'd you do it? You know what I mean? Like we have this to reference, and I do believe that that is going to happen one day. I do believe that this is a blueprint to whatever. I do believe that this is a stepping stone into where I need to be. Whatever success looks like for me, I'm not sure if it looks like 1 million listeners a week or whatever. I'm not sure about all of that. I do know that I need to be faithful. I do know that I need to be diligent, and I do know that I need to be consistent. And that was one of the reasons, that was the main reason for why I started a podcast in the first place, was I need to be able to do something consistently. I need to be able to not just show other people, but show myself that I can be consistent in something that I can do weekly. And that was this podcast. And so we started, thank God for the group chat. I'm sorry, another cast member. How can I forget you? My my loyal friend, Victoria Wilson. So it was the five of us, and I just met Victoria. I had just met Victoria, and she was down, and I thought that was great. And so we started that. Um, you know, very, very quickly, cats started falling off, but I knew that I had to be consistent no matter what. The podcast was built to continue to go on, even if people were to, fall by the wayside. So, as much as I appreciate, as much as you hear the voices that you hear each and every time that we do a podcast, and for the most part they're consistent. Every now and then somebody's there, somebody isn't. You might have more people or less people one week or whatever it might be. It's built that way because we're not paying anybody, and we'll get to that soon. We will get to that very soon. Um, We're not paying anybody. Everybody's doing this off of the strength. Everybody's doing this off of the love of me. Forget, they think podcasting is cool. They think being heard by multiple people and across the world is cool. But let's be honest, they're doing it because they love Keith. And so that group of people morphed into Lon, Keith, J. Paul, and Victoria, and that was the podcast that you came to know for maybe 2 seasons. Which I thought that we did really great work. We made great strides. The numbers were doing amazing. From that, we took a break and we decided to the main podcast. So thank God for the group chat podcast. Took a break. We morphed into the Fresh Air Media podcast, which was the idea the whole time, was to be a podcast channel. So thank God for the group chat was one podcast under a whole, was like one episode a week under a whole podcast channel that we would have under one podcast platform. You know what I mean? So you wouldn't have to go searching for other podcasts, but you would have content literally Monday through Thursday if everything worked out well. We had other podcasts in the works. Some came to fruition, some didn't. And I'm remembering a lot of this off the top of my head. But some came to fruition, some didn't. Some we work with very closely. Some just threw us their content whenever they had it. And I was doing all of that in the middle of me freelancing and all of that type of stuff. Ultimately, with the exception of Victoria coming through again, doing her own side thing for me, and just her just being willing, man. And man, for real, I can't say enough how much I appreciate every single person that has helped me with this. And again, we're going to talk about that. But Victoria had a show for a little bit, ran 10 episodes, and I thank God for that. But after that, because that was the whole point, was like, yo, be with us for a little bit, and then we'll send you on your way to do your own show for a little while. And you know what I mean. But what wound up happening was we just loved her so much on our show, and she was a missing link on the Thank God for the Group Chat show. So we asked her to come back. And of course, you can't ask somebody to do not just one show, but 2 shows for free. So We said nix the other show, just help us do this show. And she said she felt more comfortable doing our show anyway. So we were all back together, and so that was great. We had a lot of guest hosts and stuff, and it was like, yo, we appreciate these guest hosts, but we miss our girl. So that was the whole thing, and we were so glad to have her back. After that, we went on this really serious run where I felt like no one was touching us. And I mean that. I think in my opinion, we went on about maybe a 20 episode run where whether I was on the show or not, I felt like it was a good show. Like where we got to the point where we were saying, because sometimes we would say, yo, this is a good show. This was a good one. This was a good one. And good consisted of like, well, will I go back and listen to this again? And it's my job to go back and listen to it again, but I would have a good time going back to listen to it. And so what wound up happening was we really hit a stride, the four of us. Jared, J. Paul, Lon, Victoria, sometimes Chris Duncan would come through. Chris Duncan of Honor Roll Clothing would come through. Blair would come through. Alana would come through. Shane would come through. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize. But we had a lot of people. David Perdue would come through. Comedian David Perdue would come through. So the show was doing good. Show was doing well. And I was saying, man, it's time to take this thing to the next level. We need either sponsorships or we need to be under a bigger network than what we're doing. Because now it's just us. And then it went from, thank God, and it went from Fresh Air Podcast channel, just to thank God for the group chat. It was just its own thing. And, we would get 3,000. At one point, we were getting 3,000 listens a week, which was amazing for a very, very small podcast that did little to no promotion. And I'm still grateful for that. Searching for that vibe again. And we were in a space. We were in a real groove. And we look for networking and, somebody to partner with to take us to the next level, get us more exposure. We really settled in on one podcast network. It didn't work out. We weren't really feeling it. We said, never mind. And then we just set back out on the independent journey again, as if we had ever left it. And what wound up happening was I wanted the podcast to continue, but I was getting ready to move back to New Jersey. How can a podcast move forward and I'm not here? How can a podcast that I built move forward and I'm not here? Well, long story short, thank God for my friends, as much as they tried, but it can't. One thing I learned is that, and this was even before I had a daughter. Thank God I learned this before I had a daughter. You can have a baby, right? And people love your baby. But no one's going to love your baby and care for your baby as much as you care and love your baby, right? So eventually what people do with babies that aren't theirs is they put them down. And that is what happened. As much as my friends love me and love doing the show, it wasn't their baby. And so as much as I love listening to them all the way from Jersey and trying to find my footing in Jersey, they set the podcast down ultimately. And all of our listeners, everybody that was consistent, all gone. I hated that. So after a while, what I wound up doing was my friend wanted to start a show in Jersey. by the name of Sharice Richardson, who is now on Thank God for the Group Chat and Background Noise. She started a podcast, so it reignited my love for podcasting because I was just in a rut, man. I was just going to work, trying to find my footing. You know, I got a child on the way. Um, and so let me just find work and let me just work until I get my own spot. Let me just work until this and that happens. But that love for podcasting was still there. And even doing her podcast reignited that and just reignited just the idea of like, this isn't just something to do. This is something that I do. Right. And so ultimately, her and I, we started, it just became her and I, for a couple of these. And long story less long, I jolted back into the whole, COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and I hit Lon, Victoria, and Jared up. And I said, hey, let's start this back up again. Remember the thing that we wanted to do? Remember when we wanted to be able to stream from our houses and stuff? We're in COVID and we have no choice but to do that if we were to do that. And so that's what we did. We started up the podcast again. We did it through Zoom. We were all discovering Zoom. Maybe when I say we all, mainly me and Lon. But we did Anchor for a little bit and it sounded terrible. We did Zoom for a little bit. It sounded less terrible, but still terrible. But we did it. And it wasn't just COVID. It was police brutality and the exposure of it. And that's all there was to talk about. And so what wound up happening was Lon got drained. Victoria got drained. Jared had another baby on the way. And the show still had to go on. And me caring about my friends before I care about a podcast, as much as I care about podcasting, hey man, you gotta do what you gotta do. And so I would hope that Lon would be back. I would hope that Victoria would be back, but I didn't stress it. Even though I did stress it, I didn't stress them. And so what happened was that I wound up hitting up some old faithfuls, people that had been on the podcast previously, who have talked about the podcast, liked the podcast, and wanted to do the podcast potentially. Hit them up. Someone who I wanted to be on the podcast like as a regular, and I wanted her to be in tandem with Victoria because I thought that was going to be an amazing duo. And it didn't. It didn't really pan out. Not that they ever sat down together. I don't know if they have found an episode for me. But am I still recording? Yes. Okay. So was Alana Sipple, and so I hit Alana up. Alana was able to do it. She was able to work it into her schedule finally. I hit Sharice up because she had expressed not only a love for podcasting, but a consistency in podcasting. I hit up Tobias, someone who I cared about, but never really was able to connect with him how I've always wanted to connect with him, just on a regular basis. You know what I'm saying? And the only constant for me, for the most part, is podcasting. The only way that I really connect with people on a day-to-day, as sad as it might seem, people outside of work and all of that type of stuff, would be podcasting, because this is just what I do. If you're not in my space, you're just not in my space. I wanted Tobias in my space. And so it was myself, Tobias, Sharice, Alana, and at one point Nasia, who was recently divorced and was yearning to do something creative. Nasia lasted maybe like 3 or 4 episodes. Don't quote me. Maybe 3 at the most. And we were off to the races. And we finished out season 3. season 4, I said, man, I need a, not that Sharice isn't my friend, because she really, really is. More than y'all know, Sharice is my friend, one of my dearest friends. Not that Tobias isn't my friend. Not that Alana isn't my friend. But I said, man, I need someone who knows me. Lon knew me. You know what I mean? I lived with Lon for years. So I hit up Devin one day, my friend Devin, and I said, listen, I know you're in like a creative rut yourself. I know that you feeling depressed and all of that. Come do this podcast with me starting next season. And so that's what we did. And the rest is history with that. We took a break. We took a break in that time because, and I'll be honest with you guys, the chemistry was off. It was off. And I think my position was misrepresented. Who I'm supposed to be in this whole thing was misrepresented, and who I was to them was misrepresented. So I said, let this podcast stop for a while. Also, in addition to that, I'm getting ready to go to court. I got to get my mind right because I have to fight for my child. I need my daughter in my life. And I'm getting sick and tired of saying Bailey Daddy loves you every day. And I've never, every Monday, and haven't ever met this kid. Just keeping it 100. So was all of that compiled into one thing where I said, let's just stop. Did the court thing. Got more acquainted with my child. Talked to Tobias some more. Spent some more time with Sharice. Spent some time with Alana, like over the phone, just talking to her. Me and Devin talk all the time, so it's nothing. But slowly but surely, Tobias would ask when the podcast was starting back up. Sharice would start asking when the podcast was starting back up. Alana is like, whatever. Devin would ask, and the other issue was the sound, right? Which is, why do a podcast if your sound isn't going to be correct? And that was always my biggest pet peeve above everything else. Was I remember when we were doing the podcast in season 1, 2, and 3, we worked on that sound so much that it became what it became, and it was less about how it didn't sound and more about, let's fix the other things, because the main issue is not an issue. We sound good. We sound better than a lot of the podcasts out. We sound better, right? And so I think that was a lot of the reason for why people gravitated to us. Just number one was because we sounded better than a lot of the other podcasts, a lot of the other startup podcasts. We sounded better than a lot of the podcasts that were doing better than us. And so I'll be honest, the live stream thing isn't really my bag, but it just is what it is right now. And so what you got to do, you got to realize, are you just in the podcasting business, or are you in the communications business? And so that got me thinking is, okay, so we're a podcast, but because we're live streaming, we're not just a podcast. We'll get to it. Oh man. So I'm gonna try to speed this up. And so season 4 started. The second half of season 4 was what it was, and camaraderie isn't so much an issue now. Being on the same page isn't so much an issue now, but quality is still an issue. And also, that's just what it is. As you can hear, probably, you can hear that I got my mic back. I had your boy went down to North Carolina and got his mic back. I thought that I could do without it for a little while, but no. And that was a reason for why we started background noise, was so that we could take a break from the live stream thing and we could just podcast like how podcasters podcast and like how we're used to podcasting. So shout out to Jackie. Shout out to my now partner in this business, Jeffrey Burnell, for like, yo, y'all just want to y'all just want to podcast, y'all just want to talk about something. Yeah, we down. Let's talk about stuff that's like, not in the news. Let's just talk about some stuff that's just been on our hearts and stuff like that. And Sharice does a great job of running that show. And so kind of in a way, like, it does keep me going in this whole podcast thing. So I greatly appreciate that. So with that said, what are we doing now? Now that we've done all of this, the preliminary stuff, what is on the table now? And what is all this talk about Patreon? What are you talking about? What's all this talk about creative heads? What's all of this? All right. I want to say this first and foremost. You should be glad to see and know that we are making moves and that we are not staying stagnant and that you are not following a stagnant podcast. I will not allow it. I will not allow it. The goal is to improve each and every single time out. That is the goal. We might not see it. You might see us take a few steps back, but it's always improving. Sometimes you got to take a few steps back to take a whole big leap forward. And so sometimes that's what we're doing. That's always what we're doing. That's the goal. Is to progress. And so with that, thank God for the group chat caught attention to quite a few people. Just the graphics, the way that it was done, sometimes the promotions that I would do and all of that type of stuff. Caught the wind of a young lady by the name of Jocelyn Robinson. So we've started working on her company. She has made me the multimedia producer for Creative Heads. And so amongst the other things that I'm doing, I said, hey, the whole podcast thing would come up here and there. And so I talked to her about creating an actual channel, kind of like what we did with Fresh Air, but on a grander scale, of course, and more organized. Even though that was pretty organized, but more organized, and with the know-how and with the knowledge of the setbacks and all of that type of stuff. Different business model a little bit. She was down. Long story short, Fresh Air Life will know, even though it is still an entity, even though Fresh Air Life is still very much around up here in my head and will make its way back out into the world one day. I decided to take my baby and once again give it to someone else. This time I'm not going anywhere. This time I'm here. This time it's, hey baby, we're staying together this time, but we're moving over here with these other people that can help us out a great big deal. So that's what we're doing, is taking Thank God for the group chat, putting it under Creative Heads LLC design. And so they're it's kind of like a label. They are going to be designing all of our stuff, making us look good, making us look nice. I still have creative control. I still have control. I still own everything, the whole nine. And so that's what we're doing with that. Long story less long, because we got a lot to get to. So we will have, but funny thing about that, but Keith, you said that you were going to do Patreon. You said that you were going to do Creative Heads, and you said that you were going to keep content on the podcast channel. You are correct. So what is going to happen is this, and please pay close attention. If you care about us, if you care about supporting us, please pay close attention to what I'm going to say. It is beneficial across the board. Thank God for the group chat. All of its unedited content, all of the live content, all of anything extracurricular, anything sweepstakes wise, anything you know, anything, to get the bang for your buck will be on Patreon. Now, okay, I think I could talk about the tiers. Let me try to find what I'm talking about. Real quick, let's talk about Patreon. We're moving to Patreon, but wait, FAQs. So what's happening? Moving to Patreon. What is Patreon? Patreon powers membership businesses for creators by giving them the tools they need to acquire, manage, and energize their paying patrons. With a subscription style payment model, fans pay their favorite creators a monthly amount of their choice in exchange for exclusive access, extra content, or a closer look into their creative journey. This model is a win-win. Creators retain creative freedom while getting the salary they deserve, and fans get to rest easy knowing that their money goes directly towards creating more of what they love. So that's directly from the website. I copied it and I pasted it into my notes. That's from the website. So that's what Patreon is. Essentially, Patreon is it's a subscription-based platform where I remember telling, if you've listened to the past few episodes, I've told you about the different tiers. So the first tier is the thankful tier, and that's $1. That's $1 a month. Now, we're going to go back to doing 4 episodes a month, right? We're going to go back. We were doing bi-weekly, which was cool. We, and when I say we, I mean me, me and Jeff are going to go back to doing 4 episodes a month that you can find on our podcast channel, right? Those episodes, that any content that you find on this podcast channel that you are on this podcast that you are listening to right now, is condensed. Going forward, it will be condensed. It will not be the full thing. And whatever you are getting on here is going to be chock full of commercials. It's chock full of commercials either to get you to Patreon or to, that you listen. And if you listen just on here, that is perfectly fine. We appreciate you. All I ask is that you listen to the commercials, that you don't skip past them, because that is a way to support us as well. And after this, we're going to take a commercial break. I'll leave this alone. I do need a break. But so what are tiers? So the thankful tier would be $1, right? It's $1 a month. The groupie tier is $2. And so with that, you'll get access to live. Let me just look it up, because I should know what you get. So how to access it is you go to patreon.com/thank God for the group chat, and you'll find it there. So Patreon is patreon.com/thank God for the group chat. So the first tier is $1 a month, and so you'll get all the full-length commercial-free episodes. Every episode that we do, you're going to get the full-length episode without commercials. Remember when we were doing it without commercials? You won't get it anymore on here. You will continue to get it on there, but you'll be paying $1 a month. $1 a month. If you love us, or if you care about us, if you want to help us, if you say, look, man, y'all been a part of my life, I could give y'all $1 a month. And I tried to make it 50 cents a month so that y'all wouldn't feel it. Patreon wouldn't let me. And so that is literally the lowest that I can go, is $1 a month, right? But we can no longer do this for free. In order for us to be better at what we're doing, you can't do it for free. And I know that we're going to lose some people because of that, but it's going to be worth it so that we can continue to make better, bigger, and better content, because we get to spend more and more time on bringing you a great product. And that's really what it's about. So $1 a month, you'll get the full length commercial free episodes. And if you know me, you know I don't know what else I'm going to do, but I'm pretty sure I'll do something else. It's just me. But you know for sure you're going to get the full length commercial free episodes for $1 a month. That's literally 4 episodes for $1. And every episode after that comes on there. Every episode on Patreon, you got access to it the moment that you pay. If you decide to pay $1 a month, if you decide to pay $1 for 1 month, for that month that you paid $1, you would get all of the daggone episodes that we got on Patreon at that point in time. It's a donation. You can pay more than $1, but that's what it is. So for $1, you're in the thankful tier. So we're thankful for you for $1. For $2 a month, you are in the groupie tier. The groupie tier, you get all the background noise episodes in addition to the full-length commercial-free episodes. So, I talk to, and you'll hear this episode. That's crazy. You'll hear that episode soon, probably before this one. Yeah, I'll load this up later because I just remembered we're doing a background noise episode while I talk about Patreon. Okay, so see, that's what I'm saying. Just content is just going to be coming. Content is just going to keep flowing. We're going to have this bad boy on autopilot so that y'all can enjoy and be up to date and just get all that you can get from us. So background noise episodes will be on there solely. We will not have any more background noise episodes on the Thank God for the Group Chat podcast. It won't be on there. Any background noise episodes you get will be found on Patreon under Thank God for the Group Chat. Patreon.com/Thank God for the Group Chat. You will find all of the background noise episodes going forward on Patreon for $2 a month. So for $2 a month, and I guess I'm sounding redundant, but I want you to get this for $2 a month. So I don't want you to be like, yo, where's this? Where's that? Man, why y'all stop doing that? We didn't stop doing it. We stopped doing it for free. And it's season 5. I gave y'all everything I had. Trust and believe. If y'all ain't get something a week, it's because I really didn't have it. And so for $2 a month, and at the risk of sounding super redundant and repetitive, you get background noise episodes and the full-length commercial-free episodes of Thank God for the Group Chat. I'm super excited. All right, so for $3 a month, you become a chatterbox. So all the chatterboxes for $3 a month get the live streams. So when we're recording the episodes, you get to watch the live stream. You have early access to the episodes because, it'll be up there. I'm not taking it down. You'll have early access to the episode. So what we do is we record them on Mondays, and we drop them on Wednesdays. So you get a 2-day jump on anybody else. You get a 2-day jump on the chatter. You get a 2-day jump on the people that are thankful. You get a 2-day jump on the groupies. You get a 2-day jump on the podcast listeners solely. And you definitely get a big jump on them because we're not giving them the full episode. So all the pre-podcast banter, none of that. Like we are literally being specific about the certain content that we put out to the masses. So all of this type of stuff is behind the paywall. You really are in VIP when you become a patron on Patreon, at least dealing with us. I'm not going to do is recycle content and make it available to people maybe a couple of weeks later or anything like that. No, what's on Patreon is going to stay on Patreon because you paid for that. And what ain't. You know what I mean? So only preferential treatment would be on here. So so for $3 a month, you get live streams, early access, and the full-length commercial-free episodes and background noise episodes. And for our last and final tier that we have been working on since day one would be for $5 a month, you would be a friend of the show. And if you are a friend of the show, you get full-length commercial-free episodes just like the other tiers. You get background noise episodes, early access, live streams, private community, meaning that you can chat with other people in the community that have listened and watched episodes and become friends through the twine. Behind the scenes content. So Jeff and I, we have these sit down meetings when we talk about what made the episode good, what made the episode bad. Basically, we watch and tape, and we are figuring out how to make the next episode better. If you into that, that's for you. And merchandise. So if you are a friend of the show, and we can keep track, if you are a friend of the show for a consecutive 10 months or whatever, we will start sending you money. Excuse me. We'll start sending you merch, and you will send us money. We gonna send you merch. So yeah, I mean, that's what that's about. So about Thank God for the Group Chat, this is what it says on Patreon. Thank God for the Group Chat began as a weekly podcast that discussed many things from the eyes of Black millennials from many different walks of life. Today, while still having a podcast version, Thank God seeks to be more of a show that makes its fans feel more of what we like to call friends of the show. Thank God is created and curated by the eclectic Keith Roberson. Right or wrong, Keith and his friends will give you a perspective that we're sure you haven't heard before, but that's exactly why we thank God for the Group Chat. So that's what that is on Patreon. Now, okay, Keith, you explain Patreon, but explain I will save that for later because that's some great news. So that explains well, that is later because okay, so that explains that portion, right? What will be on, let's look at, what will be, so on Mondays, let's go down the schedule. And if you still listening to this, you are a friend of the show, believe that, money or not. But I pay to be a friend of the show. So on Mondays, say for instance, Mondays we do our live stream for Thank God for the Group Chat. On every Monday, if there's a 5-week month, we will not be we will not have an episode 5 on the 5th week. We're free, you free, we're not free. We working on some stuff for sure. But no episodes on 5th weeks, just 1, 2, 3, and 4. So thank God for the Group Chat. We'll be having live streams on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd and 4th Monday of the month. On Tuesday, don't worry about that. On the 2nd Tuesdays, we will have a background noise, but it's a Patreon exclusive. On the 2nd and 4th Tuesday, background noise, Patreon exclusive. Background noise, I gotta repeat it, is Patreon exclusive. On the 4th Tuesday, on maybe wait, it's the 2nd and 4th. Okay, wait, the 2nd, what? 1, 2, 3. Yeah, the 2nd and 4th. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so on the 5th Tuesday, I'll drop a I Pray This Helps, maybe. If you know about I Pray This Helps, I'll probably drop an I Pray This Helps on Tuesday, on the 5th Tuesday of the month. On Wednesday, you drop the Thank God for the Group Chat podcast edition. So It'll be a condensed version with all of the commercials on this platform, wherever you're listening to this. And then you can find different segments that we drop on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And we do the same every Wednesday. And yeah, that's pretty much all y'all need to know right now. I'm looking at this whole big thing, this whole big plan, but yeah, that's really all you need to know. Can't give everything away. But the shows. So we're gonna go back to the platform that I was telling you all about from the inception, right? The inception of Fresh Air Media and all of that type of stuff. But this is what we're going to do. So the shows that we are going to have are Thank God for the group chat, Background Noise, I Pray This Helps, and Seen It. Remember Seen It? All right. So, but there's one more show that I've got to tell you about. So the thing about Creative Heads is going to have their own content, their own podcast, along with us being a part of their podcast team and regime. But one of the things is this: how can you have Patreon content here, condensed versions of the podcast on the podcast platform, and then still give them their content? Like, aren't you using the same stuff? Aren't you recycling the things that you were just saying? No. There will be a completely different episode and episodes and potentially different team on Creative Heads podcast channel. The show will be called Thank God for the Arts. And all I can say is that it will have 1, 2, or 3 familiar faces that you haven't seen in a while. That's all I can say. I can't make any promises. The only promise I can make is that it will at least have 1 familiar face. I'm confident about 2, and hopefully 3. Hopefully I don't have to go reinvent the wheel. Some faces that you haven't seen in a while, but you know that we gel very well together. So that is that. And please keep me in prayer as I just explained all of that to you. And you know that is super heavy for one person to take on. And so I'm glad that I'm not taking it all on by myself. And preferably I won't. Jeff is with me. More important, the Holy Spirit is with me. Jocelyn Robinson is with me in the Creative Heads team, and we are going to make this do what it is supposed to do. And so it's only up from here. Thank God for the group chat. Season 5 will be starting soon. It might look different for a few episodes as I'm not playing about this sound issue, this little clicking sound issue that happens in our podcast. I cannot stand it. Making sure that everybody sounds pristine and all that. And you got to make sure that everybody sounds even better because you live streaming it. So, yeah, we're not playing games. And thank y'all for listening to this. I know Gina made it to the end of this. And I hope you did too. And so, grace and peace. And you know what? I'm going to pray. That's what I'm going to do. Father, we can write the vision and we can make it plain, but you have to provide the increase. Lord, I just laid out all of the things that we plan to do as a people, as we plan to do as a company, as I plan to do as a creative, as I plan to do as a content creator. Lord, we can make plans all day. Lord, we can build the house, but if you do not build the house, those who labor in vain. So I ask you, Lord, to establish our plans. And if you won't establish the plans that we have, that you would make our plans even better, that they would go far and beyond whatever we could ever ask or think. Now unto him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ever ask or think, according to the power that works in you. Lord, we just ask that you would be there, and that you would just have your hand on this, and that you would get all the glory, all the honor, and all of the praise. I thank you for everybody that has worked with me in this process from the inception until now. Bless them indeed and enlarge our territory. We love you and we praise you. It is in Jesus' mighty and matchless name we pray and give thanks. Amen. Grace and peace be unto you. Happy New Year. Bailey, Daddy loves you. Peace.